I'm not really sure how to start this video, but there's something that I want to clear up because it's causing a lot of confusion. I am bisexual. This is something I've known for a long time, but it's only more recently that I've started to accept it and become comfortable with the idea. Being straight is kind of the default option in our society, and I mean that's okay because most people are straight, so statistically somebody is most likely to be straight. But obviously it's totally okay not to be straight. It's worth mentioning that the labels that we have for sexuality are not perfect. They're convenient, but they don't work for everybody. Sexuality is not a discrete set of categories that you can fit into, and it's not even a scale from like totally gay to totally straight. It's much more complicated than that. But it is okay not to be straight, which is fine, except unfortunately homophobia exists. Some people are homophobic. This is partly why I never wanted to come out earlier. Throughout school, I never told anybody. I just pretended to everybody else and myself that I was straight. And the main reason that I didn't want to talk to anyone about it was because I was always really confused about my sexuality. I was brought up to think that being straight is normal, but some people are gay and that's okay too. So when I was younger, when I was like 11 maybe, and I started to realise that these homosexual thoughts weren't normal for a straight person, I thought that I had to be either gay or straight. And this drove me mad for years, like all through secondary school. For 5 years, I tried to decide whether I was straight or whether I was gay. Obviously, being bisexual, I couldn't figure this out. At some point, I did become aware that bisexuality was a thing, but it took me a long time before I started to realise that it might apply to me, and even longer before I accepted that it did. I just continued to be really confused about whether I was straight or not. And even when I did realise I'm probably bisexual, I kept wanting to be straight because I saw that as the easier option. It would be easy now to say that I should have spoken to somebody about it, but at the time I didn't want to. Even if there was like the perfect person there to speak to, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. Starting sixth form could have been an opportunity for me to come out, but I was too focused on fitting in at a new school. And by this point, I still hadn't admitted to myself that I wasn't straight. It sounds stupid, but I never wanted to say it to myself. I never looked in the mirror and said to myself, I'm bisexual. I just continued to be confused about it because it's a strange experience, and I didn't know anybody else who was bi. I barely knew anybody else who was gay. I would often think that maybe I'm just wrong, maybe I'm just straight, there's nothing different about me. Other times I would think maybe I'm gay, maybe this is what being gay feels like, and maybe I'm just sort of appreciating that some girls are attractive but I don't find them attractive. I couldn't figure out my own feelings. During sixth form though, I started dating a girl, and we were together for about 2 years. So for those 2 years, I stopped worrying about my sexuality because it wasn't an issue anymore. And there was no problem, it was great, but eventually we broke up and I was back to the same situation again. By this point, I'd started university, and after being single for a few months, I finally accepted to myself that I wasn't straight. I continued to keep it to myself though, and my main reason this time for doing it was because I thought that if I was openly bisexual, I would decrease my chance of finding a girlfriend, because I could still see myself having a romantic relationship with a girl more than with a guy. I accepted that I was sexually attracted to men, but at that point, I couldn't see myself being in a relationship with a man. I still wanted to find a girlfriend then. I just assumed girls wouldn't want their boyfriends to be half gay. Nevertheless, I started to tell some friends. I told like one person at a time. I mean, it took me months to do this. From deciding I wanted to tell somebody to building up the courage to say it, it took me like 5-6 months. But eventually, I managed to tell a handful of my close friends, some here, some back at home. And one of them said to me that I should stop being worried about coming out and being open about it, because if a girl didn't want to be with me because I was bisexual, then she probably wasn't the kind of person I'd want to date anyway. And then it seems so obvious that a person who would not date me because I was bisexual just wouldn't be the type of person I'd want to be in a relationship with. And obviously since I was bisexual, that just wasn't going to work out long term. So I continued to tell friends that I was bi, and at the end of last year, I came out to my family. It was very difficult to do that, obviously, but nobody had awful reactions, most people were quite supportive, so I am really glad about that. But I'd heard from lots of people that coming out was like such a liberating experience and it felt great, but honestly for me it didn't. Immediately afterwards, after coming out to my family at least, I felt worse. Because suddenly everybody knew my secret, I didn't know how people thought about it, I felt like lots of people were trying extra hard to act normal, which just made the whole situation feel way more awkward. So I never had that sudden feeling of relief, it was much more gradual. Now I'm really glad that I've come out to everybody. I'm no longer keeping anything a secret, I can be myself, and I'm no longer keeping this a secret from the internet because that was becoming increasingly difficult. Leave a comment with any thoughts you have on this, any experiences you feel comfortable sharing, any sensible questions, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video to this addressing them. I'm probably going to be quite nervous uploading this video, but hopefully it has turned out okay. Vlogs will continue every Friday from next week, as usual. Thanks for watching.